Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the Thunder Today YouTube channel. I am your host, Dylan Hibbard, and in today's video, we are going to go over a little playoff rotation fact that I found out, and just kind of just continues to prove the point of OKC's drafting and how good they do. We're going to go over what the chances are of the Thunder going back to back next year. Obviously, there hasn't been a team that's done that since the 17 18 Golden State Warriors. So can the Thunder be the first team? And then we'll go over who are like probably the most likely teams to stop the Thunder and what that might look like. And then we'll talk a little bit at the end about another possible OKC team coming to the city. It might not include basketball, but we'll talk about that at the end. First off, we're going to talk about this crazy fact on Twitter that I found out about the Thunder. I'm sure most of you would kind of guess this and know this, but just something to kind of look over and just further prove the point of how Sam Presti operates and how good he is at finding that talent. And there were only 4 players in the Thunder's playoff rotation this year that were drafted in the first round of the NBA draft, and those were Chet being the highest at the 2nd overall pick, Shea being the 11th overall pick, Jada the 12th, and then Wallace the 10th overall pick. So your big 3 and Wallace are your first round picks. Everybody else who had playoff minutes, including Hartenstein, Wiggins, Joe, AJ Mitchell, J. Will, guys like that, were all drafted in the second round. And then you have your arguably 2 of your 3 best defenders in Caruso and Dort, who were undrafted, and you were able to pick up undrafted and just develop these guys. And it just shows how it doesn't always have to be you drafting 5 first overall picks or 5 first round picks and a whole bunch of lottery guys to win a championship. If you have an eye for talent just like Presti, I mean, you got to think of the all-time greats that have been drafted in the second round and just undrafted in general. I mean, second round, you have guys like Draymond Green, Manu Ginobili, Jokic, guys like that who have been drafted in the second round. So it's not all about getting as many lottery picks as you can, because it's not always certain that those guys will turn out. But luckily for Sam Presti, most of those times it has. There's even sometimes where he hasn't hit those, with Ousmane Dieng being an 11th overall pick, and he just hasn't turned out how we wanted him to. So, I mean, obviously you're going to swing and miss sometimes on certain picks, but if you're able to collect draft picks like Sam Presti has and just continue to draft, even if it's those second rounders or having eyes on guys who might go undrafted that you think you can develop, it turns into something big. And you look at it now where the new CBA, this is how teams are going to have to figure it out. They're going to have to get guys in the second round and hope those guys can turn into something. And they're just going to try to copy what the Thunder have been able to do and follow the Thunder's recipe. And I'm not sure it's going to work, because there's a reason only one team has been able to figure out how to do it. It's not for everyone. And it's going to be interesting to see how we continue to do it. And it's just kind of an interesting thing to see if people will try to replicate what the Thunder have been doing and if it turns out in their favor. But we'll transition now into the topic of, are the Oklahoma City Thunder, what are their chances of going back-to-back this next year? You have guys like Tyrese Halliburton, Jason Tatum's injured now, where they're going to be out all of this next year. So on the Eastern Conference side of things, it's going to be even weaker than it was last year, which is crazy to say. Your contenders are going to be the Cavs, who won 65 plus games just like the Thunder, but got bounced by Indiana, and they're looking to be that best team in the East again and hopefully get back to the finals. You have the Knicks, you have an aging Bucks team, you have teams on the rise like the Magic and Pistons, just not very deep. And I think it really just comes down to how the Thunder maneuvers the Western Conference playoffs. I think without a doubt, the Western Conference semis and conference finals will be some of the best series in the entire playoffs, just because there's a likely scenario where the 4 teams in the Western Conference finals are Thunder, Nuggets, Rockets, and that's just your top 3 teams. And like that 4 team could be the Lakers, the Warriors, the Wolves, like the Clippers, maybe even like a team like the Spurs that might surprise some people and get to that second round. You're going to have incredible semifinals matchups, and then whoever wins those has to go battle each other in another 7 games to see who even gets to the finals. And it feels like if it feels like there could be a good chance that the West is so tough that by the time the Western Conference team, whoever it might be, gets to the finals, they're going to be so worn out that an East team who might get hot and maybe win the Eastern Conference Finals in 5 or 6 might get those extra days off and extra rest to help them prepare for the finals. So, I mean, just thinking on that side of things, I mean, you have to think the Thunder's chances are really good because they're bringing back everybody. Nobody on the team of value left. Everybody's coming back. That's just the question of how healthy will the Thunder be. They're still young, but you have guys like Caruso, Kenrich, Hartenstein, and obviously Chet have been injury prone in the past. How healthy can you stay throughout this regular season? Because now that you've won the championship, you don't have that intensity of you wanting to go get that first one. You know what it feels like. So sometimes teams kind of dial it back and just kind of cruise along, and that obviously can cost teams. I mean, we've seen it with the Nuggets, Bucks, Warriors, and now the Celtics with Tatum getting injured, where you need to go year in and year out. It's like a whole new year. You have to attack it like that is the first championship you're going after, because if you're not, there's going to be teams that are on the up and up, and the teams that are rebuilding like the Rockets and Nuggets who will go out there and snatch it away from you. And that kind of brings me to who are the most likely teams that will cause us problems in these upcoming playoffs. And I think there's 3 teams that it really comes down to, and one of them is an Eastern Conference team, and I think it's the Cavs. I think if we run into them in the finals, if they make it and we make it and we end up having that finals, I think they match up pretty well, where you have 2 bigs like an Evan Mobley and Jared Allen who can compete with a Hartenstein and Chet, who both sides have similar builds in their 5s and 4s. Mobley obviously a bit more polished on the defensive side, and Chet with that higher ceiling on the offensive side. But just from that factor, I think they match up really well. They have guards that can score. They have wings. They have a good bench. They have those bigs, just what OKC has. It's just, can they put it together? And now with that, with this past year getting knocked in the second round, maybe that gives them even more motivation to go out there. And I think if we did meet up in the finals, it could be a very rough time if we were gassed from maybe a 7-game series, the series before. And the 2 teams in the West, I think that we'll continue to talk about this entire offseason just because they are the biggest threats, are the Rockets and Nuggets. Rockets just because they were the 2 seed in the regular season. It feels like they last year were in a place where we were 2 years ago, where we got in the finals, but we were just too young. And now that you add a guy, an all-time great in KD, who's going to be able to score in those clutch moments where the Rockets didn't have a guy where they went to in the clutch last year because they just didn't have that guy. Nobody was willing to take over. And now you have that guy where, in the last 2 minutes of the game, you need a bucket, you know who you're going to now. And it's really just a matter of really staying healthy for the Rockets. Can KD play more than 65 games? Make sure Amen Thompson, guys like Sengun, Fred VanVleet are healthy come playoff time, and they have a chance to upset the Thunder not only and make it to the finals, but once again, I think the biggest threat, no doubt, throughout this entire upcoming year is going to be the Denver Nuggets. I think they're going to be angry about how it ended last year with us and how they were injured and they thought they had a chance. They pushed us to 7. Jokic is going to come back ready for an MVP. Now you have Cam Johnson, who is a clear upgrade from Michael Porter Jr., not on the defensive side, obviously, but just offense, and I think that's really what the Nuggets were looking for right there. You bring back Bruce Brown, who you had in the championship run last year. You have a backup center to give Jokic rest and a backup center of quality in Valanciunas, and I just think if there's going to be a team, and I think there's a very likely possibility that they do upset us, and I think we could very well lose to them in the Western Conference Finals, but I still believe that we're going to beat them. I think we figured out how to slow down Jokic in general, but they're going to have counters to that, so it's just, are we able to figure out now they're going to be much deeper, they're going to have a bench, they're not going to be relying on Jokic and Murray, they're going to have other weapons. Can we adjust to that and keep Jokic contained and keep that 3 ball from not falling? But interested to hear what you guys think on that. Who do you guys think will most likely stop us or has the best chance of doing it? Maybe it's a team I didn't mention. Maybe it was one of those 3. Maybe it's just you don't think anybody's really going to stop us and you think we're going to cruise to another championship, which I am all for, no doubt. And then we'll wrap up with this little fun subject of today of a possible new professional team in Oklahoma City. I'm not talking basketball. For the Oklahoma people and OKC area people, there's been a lot of talks about a possible new professional football team coming to Oklahoma, and obviously people from around here know how big football is to people in Oklahoma. So I'm interested to hear what you guys think about that. If you think that a football team in Oklahoma City will do good for the city and the state, or do you think it's just going to be a whole nother thing to deal with because now you're building the Thunder's new near $1 billion arena that's going to be done here in a few years. So it's going to be interesting to see if that gets passed, and if the Thunder end up with a new professional football team, we could have NBA and NFL happening in the state of Oklahoma, which would be big. So interested to hear what you guys think about that down below. But that'll be it for me today, guys. I hope you enjoyed this video. I will see you guys in the next one. Peace.